Did you know that in Tempest Rising you can't harvest the Tempest pods for credits forever unless there is a root node or a crater regenerating vines on which these pods grow, and those nodes and craters even come in two sizes. Also, are you aware that Armory and Doctrine unlocks and upgrades can complement each other, giving you great boosts in the campaign, while Doctrines can be combined in multiplayer and skirmish to give you an edge over your opponent. These are just some of the topics I will cover in this video sponsored by 3D Realms, so if you didn't get the deluxe edition to start playing early for the next 7 days, this way you can get into skirmish and multiplayer just as ready. I will go through both factions' Doctrine and Armory upgrades, some campaign missions, skirmish matches versus AI, and multiplayer PvP games which are all available from day one. I also created in-depth gameplay guides for the Global Defense Force and Tempest Dynasty factions, which are linked up here as a card and down in the description, and will help you learn the basics of base building, support power usage and unit combat in this very much classical RTS that is basically a love letter to the genre. It is made by fans turned developers for RTS fans. What could be better?
Our harvesters extract the Tempest fluid directly from the pods and carry it back to the refinery for processing, and is added to your credits.
As the GDF tech specialist explains during the campaign, harvesting Tempest is quite straightforward on the surface, but as it often is, the details matter a lot once you get deeper into it. At the start of most missions in the campaign, and always in skirmish or multiplayer, your command center will be located next to a Tempest field full of Tempest vines and pods. But it is highly important that you take a look if there is a Tempest node or crater inside of that Tempest field, because fields without these nodes or craters cannot regenerate pods or vines. Nodes are those huge root-like structures sticking out of the ground. Once your harvesters empty the pods, the vines die off and that is it. Vines dying off will happen even on Tempest fields with root nodes or craters, especially if you are aggressively harvesting, but they can grow back if left alone for a while. Do note there are two different sizes of root nodes and craters. You can tell the difference with roots due to their height and number of interwoven roots. The bigger ones are usually also surrounded by larger Tempest fields and on most maps concentrated at the middle. The crater size is, well, self-evident. A fun little tactic you can use in the skirmish and even in multiplayer against other players on maps where you are more limited in the amount of Tempest you can collect quickly is doing an aerial drop of engineers straight into the enemy base and taking over their command center. This is more of a GDF tactic because their Sky Crane transport helicopter can even get stealth for 20 seconds. But against inexperienced players, even that is overkill, especially if you throw in a diversionary attack to take their attention elsewhere. After you take over their buildings, you can sell them, while if you pack up the command center into an MCV, it can no longer be taken over by an engineer. This is also how you defend against such tactics. If you see enemy transports on time, you pack up your command center and it can't be taken over. Of course, if you see them coming. Stealth for 20 seconds, remember? There are more countermeasures for such gameplay tactics, and I will talk more about them in my future dedicated combat guides, which I will link up here and down in the description. Now, before I talk about the Armory and Doctrine upgrades, let me show you one more trick that got used against me in a multiplayer match, and only then did I discover it for the first time. This way you won't be caught off guard like I was. On one of the new maps, aptly named Bridges Out, you really can take bridges out of commission, and not only that, but you can repair them too with your engineer. What happened to me before I learned of this was that the opposing player blew up a bridge just under my base, which was my connection to one of the Tempest processing centers I had captured. This way, they cut me off from access and the ability to repair and take over that Tempest processing center again, until I figured out that engineers can repair such broken bridges. Do note that because Tempest Rising does not have an attack ground command for units, only the Dynasty's Leveler's Barrage ability or the GDF's Trebuchet in Siege mode can target these bridges manually. Also note that bridges and other map choke points like this are terrific places for setting up mines with your engineer or comms ring vehicle depending on which faction you play with. Since in Tempest Rising you have two separate campaigns for each faction, the developers have created separate and specialized armory upgrades for both factions. These upgrades you buy with points earned from each mission and fulfilling all the main and optional objectives. The more missions you finish, the more slots in the armory become available to you and you can use more upgrades in them. These upgrades range from giving units additional health points and letting you produce already veteran units to giving extra damage to specific unit types and even unlocking new capabilities for specific units or attack types. So in my campaign playthrough, in which I will only show you the missions that were part of the demo to avoid spoilers, I choose to go with the GDF's Napalm Grenades upgrade, allowing the Grenadier unit to set enemy buildings and units on fire, helping me deal with enemy buildings more easily in future campaign missions. After finishing another mission, I gained an additional slot in the armory and could now use the pilot repair training, allowing my vehicles to repair themselves when out of combat and to lose debuffs faster. Now we can take a look at what synergy we can find in the GDF's Doctrines to go with these armory upgrades. In the Doctrine screen, my first unlock is going to be Rapid Deployment, which reduces the time it takes to construct buildings and also increases the amount of credits I receive if I sell a building. This is especially useful because GDF's Tempest refineries are not mobile like Dynasties, so you have to keep building and selling them as you harvest Tempest across the map. Alternatively, at really late tech level, you can upgrade them to gain a passive income of credits. Now we come to the synergy part, because the second Doctrine upgrade in this tree is Resistant Threats, which doesn't just speed up GDF harvesters by 15% and increase their HP by 20%, but it also gives them self-repair. Considering that pilot repair training also enables a type of self-repair, your harvesters can get even more robust and can survive longer if targeted by enemies. This is a very basic synergy, but as you go through other armory upgrades and doctrines, you can find many more, some of which unlock additional playstyles. I will give you one more example, but this is something I'm going to cover in future dedicated video guides, which I will link up here and down in the description. So in the top Doctrine tree, the EM interference will let you silence any enemy unit you mark. Silence affects both active and passive abilities of units, disabling them for the duration of the silence. While in the bottom tree, you have a doctrine called Pinpoint Weaknesses, which not only buffs all laser damage, but it also makes all laser damage instantly mark enemies hit by lasers. Meaning that when you have both of these doctrines active, the first hit from a laser marks an enemy unit, and each next hit imposes silence on it, refreshing with each consequent laser hit. GDF's units, which use lasers, are Quellers, Shield Maidens, and Comms Officer, as well as the laser turret. But that is not the end of this synergy, as the best part is using the armory upgrade called Laser Drones. This one turns drones used by GDF's Drone Operator, Drone Mauler, and Drone Control unit into laser drones, which then both mark and silence enemies they fire on. Now on the Tempest Dynasty side, your first armory upgrade can be Veteran Crew, which makes every new vehicle you produce already leveled up to its first veteran level, called Hardened. This boosts its armor rating and rate of fire. There are more veteran levels and buffs, which I will talk about in a follow-up video. As for Doctrine upgrades, body armor is focused on giving infantry units 15% more HP, while Training Regimen makes all units gain new veterancy levels faster. This is a great synergy as your already hardened vehicles will more quickly reach the second veterancy level in combat, gaining a damage per shot increase and a slight range increase. After the next successful campaign mission with the Dynasty faction, you can get another bonus. This one as an Armory upgrade called Improve Reliability, which will decrease the damage taken by vehicles by 15%, making it easier for them to stay alive and reach those next veterancy levels. You can later double up on this with the doctrine called Leading the Charge, which will give all vehicles extra 20% health. There are more synergies available to the Tempest Dynasty faction I will talk about in future videos. Now for the last topic of this video, I want to turn your attention to something you need to learn, especially if you want to defeat the AI in skirmish or other players in the multiplayer. This is the mechanics of weapon type versus armor. First of all, there are 6 weapon attack types: rifle, rocket, explosive, cannon, fire and sniper. You can see which weapon type each unit has by hovering your mouse over their gun icon when you select them. The second icon is the armor of each unit or building. This one shows you by percentage numbers which weapon type is the unit or building most resistant to. So, for example, if I take a Tempest Sphere and check its weapon type, we can see that it's explosive based, while a Porcupine MLRS has a rocket type weapon attack. And if I want to attack a building like a GDF power plant, whose armor offers no resistance to explosive and only has low resistance to rocket weapon attacks, these two vehicles will deal a lot of damage to it with each of their attacks. As opposed to this, a Harvester is weakest against cannon weapon type, but honestly, the Tempest Sphere will probably be one of your favorite units once you learn to use it properly. Next, if we send 4 voltaic tanks against some buildings, and even with Tempest Dynamos turned on, they will take a while to blow up a building, because it has 50% resistance to the cannon weapon attack, which is the main weapon type of this voltaic tank. As you can see, there are a lot of interesting features and mechanics hiding just beneath the surface in Tempest Rising, and you can bet I will be here posting videos explaining them for a long time to come. This game's full release on the 24th of April is a huge chance for the RTS genre to become big again, especially for all Command & Conquer fans among us. Thank you for watching, and I wish you all happy gaming.